Welcome back to the show where we're running through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After running through the news you need to know about, we're running through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. This first news story, the NFLPA to investigate the handling of the concussion protocol for Tua during the game. Now, I think if everybody watched the game, it was an amazing game. The best start to a year the Dolphins have had in a very long time, beating three pretty dang good teams. Especially these last 2 weeks. Very impressive, but I'm sure everybody's watched the game. You know, he hit his head. It looked like he hit the back of his head, and then he gets up wobbly. Now, they say it's a back injury. I don't think anything's going to come of this. It really does seem like it was a back injury. Is it a coincidence that the man hit his head, and then as soon as he got up, he started wobbling? That's for everybody else to decide. But I don't think the Dolphins are going to get in trouble for this. And I do actually trust that they didn't cheat the system. I do think they checked him out for concussion. I do think the doctors on the sideline would have made sure that he was safe to come back. So I don't think anything's going to come out of this. So let's move on to the next news story. This next news story, obviously, this is from a while ago, but this is coming up very soon. To start the year, or right before the year started, the Dolphins put Byron Jones on the physically unable to perform list, the PUP list, which means he was going to miss 4 weeks. So the Dolphins should, after the Thursday game, get him back healthy because obviously they're going to have, a few more extra days to get ready for the next week. That should give Byron Jones time to get even more healthy, which is, I think, a huge addition to the defense when he comes back. He is, and especially since the Dolphins are mixing in more zone coverage this year, Byron Jones is one of the best corners in the NFL, and he's one of the best corners in the NFL as well. And it really helps the dynamic on the defense, and hopefully he can come back healthy because last year he was dealing with a lot of injuries with the Achilles. He was playing through it, so hopefully, because he didn't really do anything in the offseason with the team. He didn't really have to. Obviously, he's been in this defense for over 2 years now, so he knows the defense, so that's not an issue. But hopefully his Achilles can come back healthy. And if we get a healthy Byron Jones on this defense, it's going to be even better. So I'm very excited about that. You know, the additions of Kohu and how well he's played in the absence of Byron Jones, and even Crossan. You know, he's done a good job as well in the absence of that. So it just would make the defense a lot better. I think the blitzing packages will be better as well. I think we could even be a little bit more aggressive. I even think just dropping back in coverage will be much more improved, and overall just to make the defense better, especially if he comes back healthy. Because people have to remember, he wasn't healthy last year. He was dealing with that Achilles injury. It carried over into the offseason. He's had an entire offseason to get healthy. You know, obviously, he's missed some time going into the season, so hopefully he can come back 100%. We can start rolling the ball with him as well. Because Byron Jones, people forget, he's very talented. Very talented. One of the best corners in the NFL. And he's big corner, big and physical, and very athletic. And Xavier Howard obviously didn't have the greatest week 2. He's actually had a pretty dang good season. So to pair those two back up will be pretty fun to watch. Trying to see if there's anything else like insanely important here. It doesn't really look like we have any updates on anything. You know, obviously we're gonna get updates on Tua's back. I think we all expect him to play on Thursday, but we'll see. Hopefully it's not Teddy Bridgewater. That would be very unfortunate. He did not play well. I don't know how many snaps he had. I think he had 3 snaps. I guess we'll get into it when we get into the game. But I just want to check really fast just to make sure there's no updates on the Tua situation. Doesn't seem like there is, so we'll move on to the game. Let's move on to the game. The Miami Dolphins defeat the Buffalo Bills 21-19, and there's so much to break down of this game. I want to start on the offensive side of the football because there's obviously, excuse me guys, I might cough a few times. I was about to sneeze. Anyway, there's less to talk about on the offensive side of the football. Now, people are going to point out the fact that The Bills held the ball a lot longer than the Dolphins did. Their time of possession, the Bills had it for 40 minutes. The Dolphins only had it for literally under 20 minutes. They had it for 19 minutes on the dot. They didn't hold the ball at all, and the Bills outgained the Dolphins in pretty much every category. Their yards per play were even, though, which kind of shows you some of the stuff that happened in this game. But let's start with the offensive side of the football. I didn't think, obviously, because of the time of possession, it wasn't like the Bills were on the field a long time. Their drives, on average, took over 6 minutes. So that kind of goes to show you, I mean, it was just so hard to get, I mean, the amount of third downs that Josh Allen converted in this game is crazy. I think it seemed like a lot. Yeah, he was 11 for 18 on third downs. So they were just converting a lot of third downs. Their drives were taking forever. And a lot of those third downs were off schedule. And it was just really hard to get him off the field. So it just kind of threw out. The offense was never, like, in real time, not just game time. At one point, and I'm sure the fans felt it too watching the game, it felt like the Dolphins weren't on the field for like 2 hours on offense. In real time, it was like a little bit over 30 minutes, over half an hour. But even Tua was talking about it after the game, how it just throws you off a rhythm. Not to mention the fact that they dealt with so many injuries, people moving in and out of the lineup. Is Tua getting hurt? And I'm forgetting something else. Oh, the penalties. There were a few penalties that hurt drives that some of them we overcame, thank God, and some of them we didn't. So I just feel like the offense could never really get in a rhythm. And especially with the injuries and obviously with the Bills just taking their sweet time on offense, I mean, they just ate up the clock. So I think all of those contributed to it. It was, I don't even want to say disappointing, because I don't. There was nothing disappointing about this game. I feel like both teams gave everything they had. I think offensively, we could have played better in certain moments, obviously. But I think we did what we needed to do to win the game. And I know we can play better than that as an offense. I mean, we saw that against the Baltimore Ravens. But there was a few things that not only the things that I just brought up with the penalties, the long drives, and there wasn't that many penalties, but the long drives and just I think really what it was is just the Bills eating up the clock, and then the injuries with people coming in and out. And there are certain, and I don't want to criticize Mike for this because he's done this in the last 2 games and it's been completely fine, but on critical downs, like on critical drives, especially if it's in the second half, I'm not the biggest fan of taking Tyreek Hill and Waddle out. There are certain formations, and I feel like it's kind of a tell to the defense, and maybe the Bills saw some of that on film, because there was I believe it was a first down run that lost 6 yards, and we had taken Waddle and Reek out of the formation. So at that point, as a defense, you're not really worried about anything other than the run game. And I feel like some of that stuff caught up with us in this game, but I can't really. I mean, it's worked the last 2 weeks, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, whatever. But maybe that's something that they saw on film. Like, okay, when they take him out, and they line up in this personnel grouping, they're going to do this. And I think they kind of caught us up in some of that stuff. But other than that, I love the play calling. I think the sequence of events at the end of the game, when we were backed up on our own goal line, that was just such a tough situation. The disgusting thing is that we still gave up a safety. Obviously, that's what you're worried about there, backed up on your own goal line, is like, okay, we don't want to get sacked for a safety. But it ended up happening anyway. If it was me, and again, I would have done it different. I don't know how, and I'm not even saying hindsight is 20/20 on this. I just literally would have done it different. Even as it was happening, I was like, oh, I didn't love the sneak, the back-to-back sneak calls, and then we ran a play action to Raheem Mostert. It wasn't the greatest sequence of events. That's really my only criticism of Mike. And I don't even really want to criticize Mike, because Mike did such a fantastic job. But if I had any criticisms of the game, it was just those 2 things. I wasn't a huge fan of the taking Reek and Waddle out at the same time. and especially in a drive. And I believe that drive was in the either towards no, I think it was in the second half. And I think and then I would say the plays backed up on our own goal line weren't great, but he's been so good. I hate to even bring that stuff up, but because he's been so good otherwise. Like, Mike's personnel groupings are so creative. The way he utilizes them is so creative. The way he marries plays together is so great. His play calling is fantastic. I love his aggressiveness as an offensive coordinator. And it sucks we can never really get into a rhythm and take advantage of some of those injuries on the Buffalo Bills back end. That's what was making me so upset as the game was going on. I was like, oh, we just can never get into a rhythm. It's just the way the game happened. Sometimes games happen this way, and it is what it is. It's just the way the game fell. You know, if we could have gotten off the field on defense a little bit more, and I don't even want to say that because our defense played so well, but that's really what happened. It was just the offense can really never get into a rhythm. But I just want to shout Mike's play calling and his personnel groupings have been so great these last 3 weeks. It really is fun to watch. So yeah, it sucks we can never really get into a rhythm offensively. And just to point, so the Dolphins had 8 third downs the entire game. The Bills had 18. They had 10 more third downs than we did. We converted 3 of them. The Bills converted 11 of them. So honestly, that was probably one of our least efficient third downs of the entire. And not all of that was Tua. Really, Tua was like 3 for 7 on third down because of the injury. So we just didn't get a lot of cracks at it. And a combination of all the things that I pointed out. I do want to say that the offensive line had a great game, especially in pass protection. One of the things that I have hated, especially with this offensive line in the past, is the communication up front and handling blitzes and stunts was awful in previous years. This year, it's a drastic change. You can tell they're better. The scheme's better. The coaching is better because they're way better at picking that stuff up. They gave one up when Teddy Bridgewater was in the game. You would like to see Teddy kind of move around the pocket a little bit more there, but it is what it is. But shout out to Greg Little, who's had a fantastic season so far. Coleman did a good job coming in. Jones did a great job coming in. Robert Hunt did a really good job when he had to kick out to right tackle. The depth on this offensive line is really nice. And, it's just much improved from a year ago from a coaching standpoint especially. The game planning up front is really nice. How we changed the communication and setting pass protection, Tua's obviously gotten better at it, and the entire offensive line has gotten better at it. So I thought the offensive line played great. Jalen Waddle, I almost forgot. 2 huge throws. I forgot to even talk about Tua. I was about to move on to the defense. So let's talk about the positives. The big positives is Tua's had a great year so far. He's made so many big time throws, and especially in this game. And this is Mike McDaniel, it's hard to. The man is really awesome to watch. His offense, the throw to the Rivercraft. He made that right when he got hurt. He made that nice third down scramble to Jalen Waddle, which was a beautiful play. And then the 3rd and 22 was, the crowd went crazy. That throw was beautiful. It was literally like that might be honestly his best throw he's ever made as a Dolphin. It was just a perfect throw, great anticipation, a huge moment in the game. He's just a much better quarterback than he has been. I think everybody can see that. Obviously, I'm not saying anything that anybody doesn't already know. But Mike, just to call that play on 3rd and 22, for Tua to notice it, which most quarterbacks don't notice stuff like that. I think that's one of the things that Tua is so good at, is going through his progressions, reading leverages on the back end, understanding what the safeties are doing on a play, and just throwing with timing and anticipation at a very high level. And that's the only reason that play was even completed. And one of the cool things about that play is you could see the shadow of the ball as it travels the Waddle in the stadium, which is really, really cool. And the crowd was great the entire game. They were loud. It was amazing. So, yeah, Tua continues to play at a really high level. And I don't know what to really say about that. And, obviously his yards per attempt are higher. he ripped one on a deep end to Tyreek Hill. And yeah, it just was a really good game by Tua. A really great game. Waddle is one of the best Dolphins I've seen play, especially to a start to a career. One of the best in the history of the franchise. He's such a good player. Catching the deep crosser and then the 3rd and 22. Shout out to the terrible call before that, though. That was just, to me, a really stupid call with the illegal man downfield on a screen pass. Which people could argue that by the letter of the law, but teams do that all the time and don't get called for it, especially on wide receiver screens and tumble screens like that. So I just thought that was a bad call. And almost ruined that drive if it wasn't for the beautiful play by Tua and Waddle. But yeah, Tua continues to play great. Jalen Waddle's one of the best players in the National Football League. And then couple that with Tyreek Hill, who's also one of the best players at his position in the NFL. And then Tua's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. It's really, really fun to watch. And I haven't seen, I think, offensive play like this since I've been doing this. And I mean, dang, man, it's been a while since we've seen stuff like this, so it's just really, really fun to watch. You would like to see a little bit more consistency in the run game, only 41 yards rushing total. I will say that Mike is such a good play caller that he does get us in a lot of 3rd and favorable situations, which is where you want to be as an offense. We just have to capitalize on that kind of stuff. And we got to be better at running the ball in short yardage situations, which we did a pretty good job at in this game at times. But, oh, man, there's so many plays that are flashing through my head. Tua had a really good game. Tua, the fullback drop. But, yeah, let me get back to the run game. That's got to pick up a little bit, be a little bit more consistent. I would at least I don't know. I mean, I know 80 yards rushing a game isn't great either, but we just got to pick that up a little bit. Sorry, guys. We'll see how the year keeps going, but this I don't know. For the offense to be at its best, it needs to be a little bit more balanced. But maybe this is maybe a pass-first team. We'll have to keep watching as the year goes on to kind of feel it out. But yeah, we definitely need a little bit more production from the run game because Chase Edmonds had 6 carries for 21 yards and 2 touchdowns that were on goal-to-goal situations, and then Mostert had 8 carries for 11. We just got to get those guys going a little bit more, and it was hard to do that, especially with all the injuries and people coming in and out. The way the game was going, too, it was pretty tough. So, and those linebackers for the Bills are no joke. Matt Milano and Edmonds have terrorized this franchise for too long. They're 2 very good players, and it's just so hard to, especially if they know you're going to run the football. It's a guarantee that you're going to get hit in the backfield. So it's pretty tough to run against the Bills front with those 2 running around all over the place. But overall, I think Mike's a fantastic play caller and play designer. So he just is, and then Tua and Tyreek and Waddle have been fantastic all year. So, and we saw that again in this game. They made plays when they needed to. Tua made a lot of really nice throws, especially the one to Craig Kraft, and to Waddle were fantastic. And shout out to River Craycraft, who I was hating on in the preseason, but he's come in and made two pretty dang big plays back-to-back weeks. I can't wait to see if Azukama comes back at some point to kind of give us another threat, maybe a little bit more of a possession receiver underneath, a big body type of a receiver. It'd be nice to see if we can get him involved in the game plan soon, because that would just be insane if we had all 3 of those guys on the field at the same time. So I'll be interested to see what we do with him in the future. So let's get into the defensive side of the football. This is one of the best defensive performances I've seen in a very long time. First of all, to obviously context is everything. This offense that they're going up against doesn't punt the football at a historic rate. They've dominated everybody they've played so far this year, including the Rams defense and the Titans defense, who both are good defenses. Both have playmakers on their defenses, and the Dolphins just literally did everything that they could. Josh Allen could not have played better. The Dolphins defenses back-to-back weeks have probably played the two hardest quarterbacks to stop on third down in the National Football League. I think the top three would be Allen, Lamar, and Mahomes, especially so far this year. Those three are just so difficult to stop on third down because they keep the plays alive. Even when you win on defense, you don't win. Whether they make you miss a sack, whatever it is, they scramble for 30 yards on 3rd and 10. They're just so hard to guard. And the defense just played phenomenal. Now, when you look at the numbers, first of all, yards don't mean anything if you can't score touchdowns. They literally mean nothing. The name of the game is scoring points. So the Bills had yards, but they couldn't do anything. I mean, they just couldn't score, which is why we played. Why defense exists. So, you read the numbers, and Josh had 400 yards passing for 2 touchdowns, but he was 42 of 63. And we just played great defense when we needed to. And again, the biggest change from this year to last year, and why I think the defense is a lot better. By the way, they're not even fully healthy yet. Hopefully, like I said earlier in the show, top of the show, when Byron comes back, they'll be even better. But the biggest difference is the run defense. They're just much better than they were last year. It's not even close. The addition of Melvin Ingram has been such a big plus to this defense, not only because of his pass rush, but his run defense is phenomenal. And it really helps out the rest of the defense, getting people on third downs a lot more, and making them one-dimensional. And Melvin Ingram's been a huge help to that. Same thing with Zach Sealer, who's taken another big step this year, and he's getting even more snaps, and Christian Wilkins as well. They even... not to mention the fact that Raekwon Davis wasn't even in this game, and they still held up on the run defensive side of the football. So this was in terms of rushing, Josh Allen was their leading rusher with 8 carries for 47 yards. A lot of those were off-schedule plays. Second in rushing was the Zach Moss with 4 carries for 46 yards, and then Devin Singletary with 9 carries for 13 yards. He averaged 1.4 yards a carry. The Zach Moss one was just because everybody was exhausted, and that was late in the game. But yeah, the run defense is just significantly better than it was a year ago. With all the goal line stands, the short yardage defense, I mean, that just would not happen last year, and they're just much better at it. So that's the biggest, the biggest difference I feel from a year ago. And yeah, I want to, before, there are some criticisms, and I hate to even say this, because it was such a great performance, but I did love the game plan. Holding Stephon Diggs in check, for the most part, was really nice. He had, their leading receiver was, let me see here. The Bills' leading receiver was Devin Singletary, with 9 catches for 78 yards on checkdowns. And then Stephon Diggs finished the game with 7 carries for 74 yards. Or, not 7 carries, 7 receptions for 74 yards. So, the game plan for him was really nice. And I like the game plan overall. We threw a ton of different looks at Allen, a ton of different fronts. I just feel like in certain situations in that game, we didn't have to blitz. I understand why Josh did it, because overall it was a great game plan. In the moment, I was getting really mad. I was punching stuff. I was like, why did we just blitz there? We could have just played coverage, maybe spied the quarterback. In some of those big plays, there was a lot of room from the goal line to Josh Allen. But Josh is such a good player at, even when your defense wins, him scrambling around and either rushing a touchdown in for himself, or running around and spying someone open in the secondary and throwing it to him. So I understand what Josh's thought process was on some of those calls, but I just feel like it's a little bit overly aggressive sometimes. I think the front four, especially with all the injuries on the Bills' offensive line, I think we could have won those matchups if we gave them a chance. And I thought some of those plays were just a little bit overly aggressive. But overall, I thought Josh called a great game, especially at the end of the game. I thought he did a fantastic job. One thing Josh, and I'm talking about our defensive coordinator, he throws so much at the quarterback, and like I said, a variety of different fronts, a variety of different looks. On the defensive side of the football, and using Javon Holland and Brandon Jones. We dropped a lot of interceptions in this game. The Bills dropped one as well, but we dropped multiple interceptions. I mean, Javon should have had one. Brandon Jones should have had one. Xavier Howard had that on that weird fake spike. Could have probably picked that one to the house. So overall, it was just a fantastic warrior performance defensively. I mean, they were literally on the field forever. For most of the game, pretty much the entire game, this defense was on the field and didn't give up any points. They only gave up 17 points, which is insane against that offense. I mean, all the fourth down stops. I mean, the one to in the flat that he short hopped. So many big third down stops. I thought the defense could have. I thought the defense could not have played better. They did a fantastic job. I'm sorry, my nose is just. It's bothering me. Just a great defensive performance by Jerome Baker. The entire defense. Melvin Ingram probably. I mean. The entire defense has played phenomenal. I can't wait to see Channing get going, we probably won't see much of him this year, but it's going to be exciting to see if he can develop in this defense, because it would be really fun to see someone like that run around on this defense and wreak some havoc. So. I think the front seven itself, in terms of pass rushing, is going to get better as the year goes on, with Van Ginkel getting healthier. And I think Jalen Phillips is going to start getting going a little bit. Only thing I would say is Josh doesn't have to blitz all the time. Now, I understand why you would do it against these guys, because it is so difficult to get stops against them. And you want to, especially you would think, sitting a safety at Josh Allen or a corner, you keep up with his athleticism, but he's so dang elusive that he just avoids it and then finds someone downfield anyway. It's just there's really no right answer to defending some of these quarterbacks in the NFL now. It's just so difficult. But I thought Josh did a great job with the game plan, just throwing so much stuff at him, so many different looks at him. Really tried everything. 3-man rushes, 4-man rushes, 5-man rushes, 6-man rushes, 7-man rushes, zone coverage, dropping out of it, man coverage. I mean, threw everything in the kitchen. Spied him at times, threw everything in the kitchen sink at him. I thought he did a really good job. And the defense as a whole did a great job. But I do think the pass rush will get better. I just would say to Josh, let's do more 4-man rushes and see how that goes. Especially against the Bengals this upcoming week, because they have such a poor offensive line. I mean, I could not be more proud of this team, and this, as a fan, be more proud of the franchise right now and the place that it's in and the people that are running it. It's just good to see Tua play so well as a quarterback. It's just really fun to watch his development. The defense is so fun to watch, and it's a nice bounce back game for them. And again, I think last week was just kind of a strange game. That's not really who the defense was, and it was nice to see them bounce back and have a great performance in this game, because they are very, very talented. So I think we hit on all the big plays defensively. We hit on the goal line stands that they had. They could have even had even more plays if we weren't so aggressive on defense. Maybe kept it a little bit more simple on the goal line situations, goal-to-goal situations. And that's really my only criticism there. It's just sometimes we're a little bit overly aggressive, but this is the most balanced and all-around defense that we've had in a long time. They're really good against the run, and I think the pass defense is really, really good, especially when Byron Jones comes back. It'll be even better. And we can slide Nick back into the slot. So let's get into the fan Q&A. I mean, the end of that game, dude, I thought I might have had to been drive to the hospital. My heart was, even thinking about it, dude, I just cannot believe the defense did what they did to stop Josh Allen. All we needed was a field goal, and we stopped him, which is special stuff. I mean, that really is special. By the way, just like basically 2 seconds ago, the defense stopped the Bills' offense on 4 plays in a row. It's special stuff. I mean, what the defense did, all I can say is it's a very special performance by them, and it was just amazing. So let's get to the fan Q&A. This first question comes from Beef. He says, "Yo, Skaggs, how about them Dolphins? How about them Dolphins?" Fun question. Have you seen the video of the Bills coordinator having a meltdown at the end of the game and destroying the press box? Yeah. I saw it live when it happened. Watching the game, I think right when the game ended, they showed that. And obviously there was a lot of really cool, like the way that the game ended. I mean, the game ended. It was an insane ending. The crowd counting down the clock. You just couldn't make up a better ending than that. Tua and Josh having that hug at the end. You could tell that, Josh went through similar things that Tua did, where he was getting trashed on early on in his career for being a high pick like that, and for at least according to other people not living up to it. So it's cool that they could relate to each other in that way. And Tua really is having a really good year. I think he's got like 8 touchdowns so far this season in 3 weeks, which is crazy. So yeah, it's just he might have more than that. How many touchdowns does Tua have? No, yeah, he has 8. I think he has 8, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So that was cool to see. So yeah, I mean, the ending of that game was crazy. This next question comes from TR3MC. He says, "Hey Skaggs, is it me, or does the Dolphins look more resilient on defense, and are they truly missing Byron Jones?" I wouldn't say they're truly missing him because of the performances of Kader Kohou, who's really kind of made up for some of that. But it would be nice to have him back because he is such a good player. But I would say the Dolphins have done a good job of filling in his shoes. And again, Kohou's been a blessing because he just kind of came out of nowhere as an undrafted rookie. This next question comes from Richard. And the last question was TR3MC. I don't know if I said that. I don't know. This next question comes from Richard. He says, 3-0 feels great. Should the Dolphins be concerned about their backup quarterback? I've never liked Teddy. Like ever. I've never liked his game. Obviously, Skylar had a better preseason than he did, but he is a rookie. So I understand why he isn't the backup, because he's a young player. But I think we would all feel more comfortable with Skylar as the backup, in case something happened to Tua, just like in this game. And yeah, so yeah, I think the question is, should the Dolphins be concerned? I don't know if I would say I don't know. I don't know if Teddy's on concerned level. He might be, but I would rather see Skylar, if that answers your question. This next question comes from Jared. He says, "Hey Skaggs, great win, but what do you make of the defensive play calling on third down? I don't think blitzing great quarterbacks on third down is very smart. What do you think?" I disagree with that, especially with mobile quarterbacks. Listen, they can beat you in any way. Literally any defense you play, they can beat because of their great playmaking ability. That's why they call it playmaking, obviously. I don't know why I said it like that. You guys know that. So, were those blitzes executed well? No. They weren't. I will say that. They weren't great calls defensively, but they weren't executed well. Like the Brandon Jones where he blitzed and Devin Singletary was wide open for a touchdown. That's clearly a busted coverage. Somebody should have picked him up. Even if it's probably, who knows, it might have been Brandon Jones' responsibility. The one to Isaiah McKenzie where he was shooting across the field, that's a miscommunication. The Bills did a great job of picking up, and it was not a good play call defensively. I would have liked to have seen us drop back in coverage there, especially since they've been kind of picking up the blitz here and there all game. I would have liked to have seen a little bit. I would have liked to have seen us drop back in coverage and maybe spy Josh. So I don't think it's a fine line, I guess is what I would say. It's a very fine line, and you just got to know when to call it and when not to call it, and sometimes it can get you, but. Honestly, to be honest with you, any defensive call you call, they can take advantage of because of their playmaking ability is just on a different level. It is what it is. Like it really is what it is. I don't think anybody has the right formula for it. I agree with you though that in those situations, especially seeing how the Bills were handling the blitz on some of those on some of those downs, I would have liked to have seen us drop back in coverage. There was 3 big plays the Bills picked up on blitzes. The deep crosser to Isaiah McKenzie when we just got a sack. I think that's a kind of an egregious one where it's like, okay, let's just play coverage. Let's use this down and distance to our advantage and get off the field. We did not have the blitz there, and obviously Josh took advantage of that and threw a very nice ball to Isaiah McKenzie. The Brandon Jones and then again Isaiah McKenzie come across the field. Both were not really executed that well and just not great calls either. So I agree that in those situations he definitely should have dialed it back a little bit. This next question comes from Jared. He says, "Hey Skaggs, great win, but what do you make of the defensive play calling?" No, we just answered that question. This next question comes from Maurice. He says, "Hey Skaggs, Kareem Hunt is a free agent next season. Do you think the Finns should go after him?" Sure. It depends on the options, really. Kareem Hunt's a very good player. You would like to see a little bit more speed, but he's such a good receiving back and power back. He's a powerful runner. But yeah, you never know. You never know what other running backs are out there to be had. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed. That game was insane. I almost had a heart attack, and seriously, I'm not even joking. Between the butt punt, the fourth, we just got a 4th down stop, and then we head right into a situation where we're backed up on our own goal line. Then Josh Allen gets it with like a minute maybe left to go, with no timeouts, and we can't give up a field goal. I mean, that game was literally, my heart could not take it, dude. I wanted that win so bad. It was such a great game. Everybody going down with the cramps, the heat. Tua playing fantastic. It just sucks that with the injuries, and then he got hurt. The offense was in rhythm. It was just a crazy game. Shout out to Mike McDaniel for being a great head coach, though, being a great offensive play caller. Tua playing better. The team is really good, and it's really, really fun to watch on Sunday. So let me know what you guys thought of the game down in the comment section below. What would you have done in some of those blitz pickups and blitz situations? I'm looking forward to. One thing also I will say is Chase Edmonds getting involved in the pass game a little bit more will be really interesting to see, because I think we could use him as someone who can be more reliable as a possession slot type of a receiver, in security blanket. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I actually will probably see you sometime, not even next week because of the Thursday night game. So I'll see you guys in the next one.